I've done music all of my life since I was 6 years old, sung at places, played every instrument under the sun. And then at that point, I was doing a lot of music production, some stuff for radio, and sort of did some stuff for fashion TV and the like. So that really, encompassed everything that I was doing, and school and careers and the like. Took a back seat. And I ended up working at a place that's not on my LinkedIn called AC Nielsen, which is the ratings company, just doing, the hey, how was your service with BMW kind of thing, just for some rent money while we were kind of chasing the dream of being a famous musician. And the fun thing about that was it was full of musos and sort of people that we could, name drop, but won't. But it was basically 100 or so people who were basically doing arts of some description who'd been brought together by this by one of the leaders there who just had a great network, and it was one of the funnest jobs ever. But it was really that, it was rent money, and so I spent a long time. Running record labels, doing a radio show, and running big events and a little bit of touring here and there.
Yeah, nice.
And it's actually where I met Scott Bateman, who we'll come back to later as well. We both have taken a slightly different fork in the road. So when AC Nielsen shut down, I think it was Hayes or something like that. I was like, okay, I need more rent money, and ended up in going for a corporate call center job that was Super Partners as a temp, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling. And it was still rent money at the time, but it turned into quite a serious sort of sliding door, Gwyneth Paltrow-esque moment.
That's amazing. So that was 2006. I think.
You've probably looked that far down my LinkedIn more recently than I have, to be honest. Yes, that's it. That feels about right. Yeah.
So how did you then transition from kind of call centre into being a BA?
So fake it till you make it. It was quite an interesting thing that they were trying to do. They were winning corporate company superannuation funds, like say a Boeing or a Hertz Rent-A-Car executive superannuation fund. Sorry, I've just bumped. We might have to edit that out. I've just bumped your microphone. Sorry, Haley. And they were doing these big migrations of billions of dollars coming across. And to start with, I was in the call center answering queries from some very elated customers. And quickly, someone called Semi Giannikis, who was just a really great leader and genuinely, nice person, said that she thought I'd have more fun, I think, as a business analyst, and kind of wrangled that for me a little bit as well. I didn't really know what that was at the time, but she could probably see at the same time a little bit of disruptive behaviour and boredom happening in the call centre side of things as well. And that was just the best. The BA, I still feel like I'm a BA at the end of the day. A lot of people who have BA backgrounds who've kind of done similar things to me, we relate very well, and kind of there's a bit of a one of us vibe that creeps in, because it is all about using your head, tugging at all the threads, bringing them together, and proposing solutions, and it's very engaging and rewarding work.
It's I guess it's one of those roles where you kind of get under the hood, so to speak, and you kind of understand how all the moving parts work to make the vehicle go. There's a kind of metaphor, but and I was going to ask you what it did teach you about tech, but I guess it was the kind of mechanics of what happens in a business.
It was big data sets, not big data that came later, or pre-big data then. But it was working with really large data sets and sort of working with Python and to sort of do to reconcile stuff and find errors, migration like ETL. Still, a lot of it was done in spreadsheets at that time as well, and I reckon I could probably challenge anyone still to a spreadsheet battle.
There's a gauntlet, I think, been thrown down there.
There's Excel competitive competitions now, which I wouldn't, be up for, but it's like, it's a whole thing.
And it obviously gave you a taste for tech.
Yep.
Because you moved on after a couple of years, and I think after 4 years you moved on to Catholic Church Insurance.
Yes.
Initially as a BA, then as a systems tech. Systems team leader.
Yeah.
What kind of drew you to that opportunity?
Look, I think there was at that time. I think it's Super Partners is still the longest job I've ever had. I'm getting pretty close to it now, but it was 5.5-ish years.
Yeah.
So it was a great organisation. Like all organisations, had its quirks. May it rest in peace now, actually. So, but just the idea of sort of doing something a little bit new, with a little bit more accountability and meat on the bone. Being closer to the systems, but also leveraging those. By the end of my time at Super Partners, I had a pretty good view of how the full life cycle, you'd call it, and being able to apply that large full life cycle on a very focused client and own that end to end at a smaller level. It's like a nice opportunity to kind of double down and regroup and sort of just embed those skills as well.
Yeah. And you kind of continue that journey with AusSuper into more of a project management transformation type role, which I guess is probably your natural step from BA.
It is.
What we would see, I guess, more often than not. But how did you find that transition then from BA to kind of actually overseeing the project?
The move to that was a program, that one. So it's definitely a sink or swim. So someone I have a lot of time for, and was probably one of my earliest mentors, a guy called Duncan Howard, who worked with me at CCI, did float around Super Partners as well. They'd just won the Australian Super account.
Right.
And I was talking about Duncan, hey, I want to do some consulting. Like, let's, I was only probably 7 years into my career and wanted to, gather all these experiences and get range and kind of sort of amplify how quickly I could sort of get exposure to different things. So it just so happened when I was talking to him, they just won Australian Super.
Yep.
And so, I think Duncan's where I've got my sort of penchant for taking a punt on people when they're really not ready to do a thing. So I went in there, had a meeting with the exec, two of the exec there, and kind of to my surprise, they said, let's go ahead. And so from BA to program manager in one meeting with none of the skills. That's how I've worked ever since, really. And that Australian Super, I've got a lot of time for. They're a really great organisation from a cultural point of view, from a innovation point of view. The way they sort of Mark Delaney and co bought investments in house was a big risk. And has really ultimately paid off and aligns and has set the trend for the rest of the industry. So they were an excellent organisation, and I think it was about 2.5 years later, I'd run their first ever Agile program and got their My Super license for them, which anyone who's in an industry super fund probably sees that little stamp on their statement if they read it. We've done some pretty great things that still, they're still there today. So they've got a lot of time for Australians.
Yeah, that's great.
Pretty cool.
And you kind of mentioned that you kind of went into that role coming from a BA, and without the skills.
Yep.
What skills do you think are critical in a program manager transformation role?
Oh, stakeholder management, right?
Yep.
Like I was pretty green, and you go in with you think you can always be more humble. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Knowing who's who in the zoo and who's really what everyone's interests are, and is really important in building relationships, and knowing that it is a game of relationships and communication. If you have those, if people have, and relationships isn't just being friends with people; it's about trust, right?
Okay.
And having that trusting relationship allows you to move through without necessarily having to explain everything or introducing layers of bureaucracy if you're trying to move fast, because people know you're there to represent them. You're aligned. They don't have to. You're not a threat, right? And that's a big thing in broader change programs. Everyone's fight or flight is going off. Big lizard brain energy, and people think that they're about to get eaten by a dinosaur or whatever. It's still innate in all of us, so you need to make people feel safe. You don't want people thinking you're the dinosaur.
I think transformation takes a village.
Yep, that's right.
It's a big effort.